हेलो गाइस, गुड इवनिंग लेडीज एंड जेंटलमैन व्यूअर्स। आज फिर हम एक डिफरेंट वॉरियर के साथ, और डिफरेंट इस तरीके से कि पहली बार मैं ऐसे गेस्ट आए हैं जो टेक्निकल ग्रेजुएट हैं पहली बार। दूसरा, ये कोर ऑफ सिग्नल्स में जो पहले मेरे ऐसे गेस्ट हैं जो कोर ऑफ सिग्नल से हैं, वेरी हाईली टेक्निकल आर्म्स। और ये बीटेक है। इन्होंने पहले बीटेक किया, बीटेक के बाद में इन्होंने एसएसबी दिया और कमीशन हो गए इंडियन आर्मी में और कोर ऑफ सिग्नल में, जहां इन्होंने बहुत सारी जगह काम किया, असम से लेके राजस्थान, JNK, पंजाब, इन सभी जगहों पे इन्होंने अपनी सर्विस की और अच्छा काम किया। करीब 10 साल तक इन्होंने काम। Unfortunately, in one of the training events, because he is a good sportsman, he injured himself, and that was not recovered fully. And because of which he has to take a break from the army, and finally he has to fend for himself in the civil street. So बाकी बातें तो हम बाद में करेंगे, क्योंकि सब मैं बता दूंगा तो फिर इंटरव्यू क्या होगा. So let's welcome our today's guest, Major Abhinandan Singh, ex-Corps of Signals. Abhinandan, welcome to the show, which I call it Win Life Like You Want.
Jai Hind, sir. Thank you so much, sir. It's a privilege to have been given this opportunity on your platform. And somebody who is from the Corps of Signals, you are a veteran from the Indian Army, from the Corps of Signals. It really feels really wonderful to be here today, sir.
Nice, nice. In fact, I am really happy to be talking to you today.
Pleasure, sir. Pleasure.
So, अभिनंदन, सबसे पहले चीज दिमाग में क्या आती है, और कॉमन आदमी के में, जो हमारे व्यूअर्स में हुई, कि आप बीटेक करते हो 4 साल, इतनी मेहनत करते हो, उसमें टेक्निकल करते हो, बट सडनली you develop a thought to join army or defense. What was in your mind for having done this?
That's a very important question, sir, to begin with. Just to give you the background, sir, I come from a place called Aknoor, which you are aware, as we discussed, you have served in that place. So Aknoor is a place which is very military dominant. A lot of people dressed in the wonderful olive greens we have been seeing right from the childhood days. And the other thing is that kind of upbringing that my parents gave me, that my teachers, my principal gave me, it inculcated in me a spirit of patriotism, sir, to serve the country in whatever way possible. So that was the basic idea as I grew from the school and from the college. So when I was in college, in the third year of college, there was an entry that time which is called the university entry scheme, sir. In that particular entry, a team of army officers come to your college, they interview you, and then they shortlist you for the SSB. So that is what exactly happened with me also. I had no specific plans, but army came in, so I sat for the interview, and by the grace of God, I was selected for appearing in the SSB. And then subsequently, I went to the SSB in Allahabad 19 SSB, which is also famously called the rejection center in the army parlance. So that was the SSB in which I was recommended for the army.
Okay, okay. And you made it in first attempt in SSB?
Yes, yes. That was my second attempt, in fact, in the army. Before that, I had also appeared for the SSB in the Airforce. So that was also qualified by me, sir.
So what do you think about SSB? How it goes? What exactly looking for? If you can, for the benefit of my viewers, आप थोड़ा सा बताएं कि चाहिए क्या? मतलब पढ़ाई अनप्रेडिक्टेबल सा कुछ एग्जाम कहना चाहिए, पर्सनली टेस्ट कहना चाहिए. What is your viewpoint on this?
So I have always believed, and I keep sharing the same thought process wherever I speak. According to me, SSB is not an examination. It is just like a mirror, which I always say. It is a mirror in which, if we are lucky to qualify from the first day, and for the next 5 days, it is the mirror which will show us what we are, what are our strengths, what are our weaknesses. So I have always taken SSB to be like something which tells us about ourselves, helps us to know about ourselves in a better way. And if I specifically talk about those qualities which SSB must be looking for, it is not knowledge, that I'm sure. It is integrity, honesty, a little bit of confidence, and a courage factor, and a team spirit. These are 3-4 things which come to my mind directly as I think of the SSB. So if you have these qualities, they will be reflected when you stand in front of the mirror called SSB. So according to me, this is what SSB is testing in you.
Naturally. And you rightly brought out that integrity, team spirit, confidence, this is what they check for in everybody. And see, integrity, what exactly means in a layman term? क्या इंटीग्रिटी का क्या है? यदि ये जो बंदे सुन रहे हैं उनको समझ में कैसे आए कि क्या होना चाहिए इंटीग्रिटी?
I'll stick to the SSB के लिए सर इंटीग्रिटी का क्या मतलब होना चाहिए? Suppose आप इंटरव्यू में बैठे हैं, you are in the interview and the interviewing जो आपका ऑफिसर है, concerning officer, he asks you a particular question. Suppose you have written somewhere in the questionnaire that you have been involved in a particular thing. So if you have actually not done something on the ground, but you still have mentioned that, and after mentioning that, you are defending yourself in the interview panel. So this is what integrity is not.
Yeah.
So from here, we can infer what integrity is. Integrity is being truthful to yourself as a student, because we are sticking ourselves to the student. In the professional domain, yes, it will have a different connotation. But as a student, integrity is do what you are supposed to do it in a timely fashion, and if you do a mistake, own your mistake. If you have done some, suppose there are students who miss a year after the 12th class. So there must be some practical reason for that. Suppose you are preparing for the IIT, but if you tell a lie in front of the interview that you were not in a good health condition or something untoward happened, which is a lie. So if you are mentioning that, that is something which is a question on your integrity. So in layman's language, that this is what integrity is for me.
True. What you said is absolutely true. If I can add bit in this, in a very simple terms, what they are looking for, what you think, what you speak, and what you do on ground. If there is no relation between all the three, then you are not integral to the system.
Absolutely, sir.
Integral to yourself.
Yes.
So long as what you think, what you say, or what you do on ground, if all three things are coherent, that means your integrity is 100% okay.
In fact, if I'm not wrong, Mahatma Gandhi is also dwelled on this on the same lines. That he says that what you think, what you speak, and what you do, if they are in perfect synchronization, perfect harmony, that is what integrity is. And that is what the truthfulness is. Absolutely, sir. Absolutely.
Yeah. So after this SSB, you mentioned, Nandan, that you tried for Airforce also. You got selected in Army also. Then how did you decide between the two?
Sir, both, as we all are aware, both Indian Air Force, Indian Army, and in fact even the Indian Navy, they are the most wonderful services to be a part of.
No doubt.
But when it came to for me, I had a choice to join between the Air Force and the Army, because I was selected for both. And just for the information of the viewers, my joining for the Indian Air Force in Secunderabad was on 5th of July 2014. And just 3 days later, 8th of July 2014, I was supposed to join in the Indian Military Academy. So I was in a little bit of confusion. But just to tell you how I clarified this, there was another third SSB which was scheduled for me. It was just before the joining. It was for the flying branch in the Air Force. The earlier one in which I was selected, that was for the ground duties. So I made a very conscious thing that if I'm selected for the flying branch in the Air Force, I'll go to the Air Force. If not, then I'll join the Army. And fortunately, unfortunately, that flying branch SSP, when I gave, the complete batch washout was there. I was not selected in that. So the call was clear. I think it was again a divine intervention. The gods had certain plans that I joined the Olive Greens. And to this day, I have no regrets of having made the decision. It was the most wonderful decision of my life.
So it's not only the Army. Finally, you were destined to join the Corps of Signals.
Absolutely, sir. Absolutely.
Which is highly technical and suits to your degree also, BTech degree also.
True, sir. True.
So
in fact, just to add, sir, in the 4 years of the BTech degree that we did, I think those people from electronics and communication backgrounds. The 80, 90, 95% of the people from the college, when they graduate and do the jobs, they do not go to the technical field in which they have studied. So I think the Core of Signal guys are one of those rare people who actually employ the learnings of the 4 years on ground.
I absolutely resonate with your viewpoint कि the communication graduate, they really enjoy working in the Core of Signal because everything what you have learned in theory you apply on ground.
True, sir, true.
So where were you posted first?
So I was commissioned straight away into the 4 Corps Tezpur, sir.
Okay.
So the 4 Corps operating, which happens to be the gateway to the northeast through after the Siliguri corridor. That is the first place after Guwahati. So I was commissioned there, Tezpur. That happened to be the first unit, and it was such a learning experience. And plus, the Tezpur as a city is a beautiful city. And plus, I was into the sporting activities, a lot of sporting activities. I was madly into basketball because, as you are aware, the first unit is all about learning.
Yes.
Barring learning the administrative skills, all the rest of the times was into the basketball. And our commanding officer that time, Colonel R.K. Malik, he was a parasignaler. So he was also very much into the sporting activity. So we used to play basketball every day without missing 2.5 hours to 3 hours. And in fact, even on Sunday morning, when I was sleeping, the RHM used to call me that, sir, CEO Saab aa gaya, bula rahe hain. So 6 o'clock Sunday morning, we used to be on the basketball court. And we used to play until 3 rounds of 100 points each, and in which the CEO used to win. So that was how it went in the first unit.
He used to win or he is made to win?
It was equal. It was 50-50. But when we represented the unit team, or in fact, we had the opportunity of representing the core level also. So in that particular event, we were a part of one team. So as a matter of practice, we used to be on the different teams. But he was also a very wonderful basketballer. He was a tall guy, 6.5 feet.
So you know, the first unit is always the one unit which you never forget, because that is the place you learn from, not only from the officers, you learn from the Jawans and JCOs also. Because they are the experienced people. In our time, I remember we were used to send for the line parties and then wonderful experience in the sense कि जो लाइनमैन होते थे ना, कहीं से भी जंगल में मंगल करने वाली चीज, कहीं से भी कुछ भी क्रिएट करने वाले लोग.
Absolutely.
So ऐसा कुछ एक्सपीरियंस आपको याद है जो आप अभी भी नहीं भूल सकते हो फर्स्ट यूनिट का, जहां किसी जवान या जेसीओ did something or you did something, if you can share that?
So 2 things. First is, of course, as there is a tradition of welcoming the newly commissioned officers.
Yes.
So as I joined, I took a train from Delhi to Guwahati, and I stayed overnight in the transit camp in Guwahati. And then through the convoy, I reached about the Tezpur place, which is 200 kilometers from Guwahati towards north. It is on the Tawang axis. So I landed up in the transit camp in Tezpur, and there I was supposed to be received by a party from the unit. So as soon as I waited for a good 1.5 hours there, and then a gypsy came to pick me up, and it was only later that I realized that the gypsy was being driven by a very senior major of our unit, and another young captain who happens to be a very dear friend of mine now. So they were there in the, of course, they came disguised as a signalman and as a havaldar. Or I think the senior major came disguised as a JCO.
Okay.
So they took me to a very deserted place, and they built up a story that this place is very now prone to violence. Recently, some incidents have happened in which there is a misunderstanding between the army and the local people. So it is very susceptible. It is very dangerous place to be in right now. So it was only later that I realized the path they took was actually the family accommodations of the officers. So because of that, it was a very deserted place. So all of a sudden, what happened? We were going, and somebody was lying on the floor, on the ground, on the road. So that was all planned. So since we also have such certain feedback that there are things in which we are welcome, so I also just gave into it that let's enjoy what's happening. So as soon as the gypsy stopped, I just went out of the gypsy just to see what's happening, and then I was abducted. I was abducted I was blindfolded, my hands were tied up, and then I was kept in a van, which I think the unit had that time. So, and then we traversed through the unknown territory, and I was kept in a very secluded place from afternoon till evening. Though I was provided with food and water, but my hands were tied and I was locked from outside. But since we knew that it is just a part of the game, so I waited till the evening, and it was only till in the evening that the adjutant of the unit and accompanied by another officer came to receive me. They welcomed me in the unit. And this is an incident which, of course, I'll not be able to forget ever. This is really interesting, and I love this. I cannot forget this.
I know. Absolutely. And this happens with everyone. It happens.
True, sir. And what exactly happened with you, sir, when you joined the unit?
What happened with us when we entered, my first unit was in Bathinda. Okay. So, Bathinda is a very, at that time, a porous cantonment. Means there were 2-3 TCPs, and coming from Bathinda, then you can enter from one TCP. I'm forgetting the name of that TCP. So on the TCP, they said, that was the time of height of militancy that time.
Sir.
I'm talking of way back in 1987.
True, sir. True. That was the time peak in
peak of it. So they said you have to show the I card. So in a good faith, we gave our I card. Okay. And they took our I card and we came. I thought this is the norm that they have to check it and verify it. Once we reached the unit, we went to that senior subaltern and he said, what's your name? I said, we are Lieutenant so-and-so. He said, how do I know? How do I verify that you are Lieutenant so-and-so? Where is your I card? He said, that was taken there. We don't know who has taken. And we were brought to the condition of having tears in our eyes. Okay. And knowing the condition that means somebody took it and they were very much in the gypsy guys who helped us to give those person of the TCP. But those were all officers, but different ranks. And finally, after a lot of, when they realized that lesson has gone home, then they said, okay, this is your I card. And it took the whole day. So
that does happen. It is really
that they make you learn very hard way that भैया जिंदगी में कुछ भी हो जाए आपका I card आपसे अलग नहीं होना चाहिए.
True, sir.
You're not supposed to give it to anyone.
Absolutely.
And the insurgency area, what happened with you is basically to teach you to be anything can happen. Don't get abducted now because it's a militancy area.
True, sir. True.
Then after that, what was the next unit you went to?
So from Tezpur, I proceeded for the young officers course in Bausa.
Okay.
So it was actually during the first unit itself, since I mentioned that I was into sports and all these activities, a few injuries started happening, sir.
Okay.
Though I continued my activities, I continued playing the sport. But when I went to Mausa, the first half of the course went well, sir. And in that training event itself, in one of the basketball games, I suffered another serious blow to my back and to my ankle, sir. So that is the time that injury happened, and it aggravated over a period of time. And since I was already into the later half of the course, so I could not go for a thorough medical checkup, which I later came to know that it was a complete ligament tear, and I had a bulge in my disc. So that intervening period between the injury and between the final diagnosis, so that was the reason the injury aggravated. So by the time I knew, it was hardly 15 days for the course. So I finished the course, went to my next unit in Amritsar, sir, 15 days. So that is the time, slowly over a period of time, I started having certain thoughts because of the difficulty I was facing in the continuation of my routine activities.
Okay. So after you finished the VIOs, where you got posted?
I got posted to Amritsar.
Amritsar. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Any experience which you would like to share of that area or that time?
Amritsar, as it is a very busy station, and since it is close to the Atari border also, Atari Wagah border, plus that happens to be a very busy place because a lot of inspections, a lot of senior officers keep coming, sir. And I was doing the adjutant, I was doing the sparrow of the RT brigade, plus we had certain other infrastructure to take care of. So that was quite a busy station. Plus we had the annual exercises taking place. So a lot of good stuff. In fact, we also organized the investiture ceremony in 2019. And I had the opportunity and I had the privilege of hosting that event also. And plus the line laying jo aapne mentioned kara tha initially, sir, because Tezpur mein I did not get that much of exposure. And in Amritsar, despite the injury, sir, since the commanding officer had trust in me, and I was also in charge of the RT Brigade communications. And RT Brigade frontage is spread over the entire div area. It is not just one brigade. It is because they are affiliated to different brigades. So I had to, the complete frontage I visited on my foot, sir. I laid the line along with my men. Men were totally charged. I came to know how wonderful work the linemen are doing. Because there was a particular stretch in which the optical fiber cables had not yet been laid. So that particular stretch we laid it, we tied the cable on the top of the huge trees that we had, eucalyptus trees there, sir. So it was such a wonderful experience, and we were able to provide timely communication even before the main elements came in.
And what was the next unit after that?
After that, sir, I was posted. That happened to be my last unit. It was a wireless unit and happened to be in Jodhpur, sir.
Okay. I believe that is the place you got the CIDS commendation card also.
Yes, sir. That was just before I was released from the service, 2022. I served there from 2019 till 2022. And in fact, this period of 3 years happened to be the most professionally satisfying time of my career, because it was the actual operational task. In the first 2 years, we were more focused upon the administrative duties and a little bit of security elements and the administrative other things. But this was the unit which was totally focused upon the operational role. And this gave me a huge insight. In fact, there was a time when I knew little about what's happening with us, but I knew more about each and every formation of the adversary. I came to know about all the places which the Western adversary has, how he could plan his moves. So that was a very insightful experience. I learned and I loved that experience. And plus, because that happened to be right next to the IB, it was a very sensitive area, because we used to have certain CBFs there, so cross-border firing used to happen before the last ceasefire that happened. So I was there. So it was a really wonderful experience.
And for which operation or which intelligence did you get this commendation card?
So it was actually, we had a system in which we used to try to find the location of that particular transmission that we had. So over a period of 1.5 years, we built up a lot of information, because I was the old hand in the unit. So I could actually develop that insight of the places. And whenever anything used to happen, I could maneuver my men and my detachments accordingly. So because of that flexibility, because of the that we call proactiveness, which was shown by the team. So it was not actually just what I did; it was just the overall effort made by the team.
In fact, Abhinandan, I too have served in a wireless unit. You know, there used to be sometimes the funny conversation you catch. Funny conversation between the adversaries talking to some girlfriend or the wives or something like that. No? Did you ever come across such funny conversation?
Lot of conversations, particularly with respect to, because that was the time I think the adversary was also facing a manpower shortage. So they were fed up with the leaves not being given, sir. So they used to scold their seniors like anything, that we are left on our own to fend for ourselves. And plus, they had a lot of civil communication also. We used to discard it, but that also happened to be a lot of funny conversations in that.
Anything which is worth sharing?
Not exactly, sir. The main thing was the leave wala. Baki, of course, the girlfriend boyfriend chats used to be there. So, not exactly worth sharing on such a prestigious platform.
I know. So it's a very rewarding job you do in the wireless experimental units.
True, sir.
Very satisfying.
In fact, from that unit itself, I had the opportunity of serving in the valleys. I was there around 3 to 4 months. And that was the time just after the abrogation of Article 370. The abrogation happened in the August of 2019. And I was sent to that place in October of 2019.
Okay.
So that time we tried to, though we cannot on ground show what the successful operations we did, but a lot of information in collaboration with the local company commanders. We used to try and track how the militants could move.
Mhm.
And in one or two incidents, we could track certain movements. Those could not be translated into successful operations because after that I had to move out of the place and somebody else came in. But
Mhm.
we did have a very thorough experience of how the operation preparedness takes place, how we build up that information and try to hunt the enemy down. Sir.
You mentioned about this abrogation of 371. What was the reaction you heard, or what was the intelligence you got basically from the terrorist group in the valley?
So in that we had a different, we were not intercepting the communication, we had a different channel that of course I cannot share right now.
Okay.
But of course that was about tracking their, more than the transmission was the mandate of some other entities. We were not into transmission, we were trying to track them location wise.
Geolocation, basically.
Yes.
Oh. Perfect, perfect. So now, roughly you completed around 10 years in the army by then. So which moment you thought, I think I should move on?
Not one specific moment cannot be pointed out, so because it happened over a period of time. Because leaving the organization like the Indian Army, in which you have loved that uniform, wearing that day in and day out, that becomes a part of your life. So leaving that could never be a very easy decision. It happened over a period of time. When I went to Amritsar after the course, the young officers course, that time I started facing difficulties. I could not run, sir. Just for your information, sir, after that, the injury happened to be, I still remember the date. It was 3rd of April 2017. And till this date, I have not been able to run, sir. And once I went to Amritsar, I could not run. I could not participate in the physical activities. I could not participate in the games. And plus, I did contribute towards the exercises which I shared earlier. But even in the routine office duties also, sir, I had to rely upon support to sit comfortably. I especially got a platform made in which I could keep my feet so that it did not cause much problem. And if I even walked for a certain distance, the legs started shivering and it started swelling up. So that was the time I felt that maybe continuation will hurt the injury also, and I may not also be able to contribute as good as I would want to. So that was the time, over a period of time, maybe 6 months, 1 year, I kept thinking about it, and then I took that call.
Okay. It's a wise decision. It's a wise decision because everybody want to live a challenging life, and when the challenge is over, certainly you have to look for another challenge.
True,
which
sir.
is within the permissible limits of your medical conditions.
Absolutely. So that was the reason, because I could have continued till the 20 years, or in fact till the colored service. But
yes.
That was never the purpose. The purpose was to serve as effectively as possible for the betterment of the country.
Absolutely.
So when that thing did not happen, so the decision had to come. Sir.
And there is no life without the challenge. There is no
True,
life
sir.
without.
True. Absolutely, sir.
Yeah. And so true that you finally went out and took a challenge, and it's not a simple challenge that you plan to go for a civil services. So how that happened now, finally, when you quit, then how did you plan? How did you prepare? All these our viewers would like to listen. One of the questions which has already come is that, do you require to have a plan B in interview? Means what to say if they ask you what is your plan B?
So first thing is, why civil services? So it automatically comes from my earlier answer that serving the country was always the top priority. So once the service in the army was not happening in that effective way, so the logical outcome was something in which I could contribute within the limitations of my injury. So when I looked at civil services, it gave me that light that I can create a difference in the lives of certain people, if not the entire country, at least a limited domain in which I would be a part of. So that was the inspiration behind why I chose civil services. And now the question that the viewers are asking about plan B, there will be varying interpretations of that, whether we want to have a plan B or not. But if you are into the beginning phases of your preparation, If you still have time, for example, you are into first or second attempt, that time you should not think of the plan B, because plan B in a way makes us a little complacent, that if not this, we have something to fall back upon.
Yes, I agree.
That you can focus upon in the later stages. Directly, we can take a cue from the military, sir. Military, there is no plan B. Either you win or you lose.
Yes.
There is nothing in between.
Yes.
If you do not come back with the tricolor being unfurled on the top of the mountain peak, then you're lost. So initially, when you start the preparation, don't think about the plan B. At the final stages, of course, after the third attempt, if there are 6 attempts, after the third attempt, then you need to start thinking slowly, gradually, that what are the other options. And I would just like to add that those of you who are preparing for civil services, UPSC civil services, if you are prepared for civil services, the other examinations are there which have a very similar syllabus. You will definitely be able to qualify without even thinking of the plan B. So if you prepare yourself, they say, if you aim for the stars, you will land somewhere there. So just preparation level should be such that if not civil services, baki ke exam jinka syllabus is similar, you will definitely be able to make it. But don't be complacent in your thought process that I have a plan.
Very right advice, very right. Because otherwise your commitment to this CSE will diminish.
True, sir, true.
So, Abhinandan, how did you started off when you came out straightway and you have already decided that आपको civil service में जाना है? तो कैसे आपने अपना रूटीन सेट किया? किस तरीके से आपने क्या कोचिंग ली, क्या किया? How did you, if you can give out that?
So the first question regarding, sir, how did I and when did I start? I started about the year 2019 when I took the decision that I should start thinking about something alternative now. So that was the time I started my preparation. And as far as the question regarding coaching is concerned, I have always believed that coaching in a way derails your plans. I'm not a very firm believer of the coaching institutes or the coaching industry.
Okay.
That may be helpful for certain students, but personally, I am against it.
Okay.
Now, adding to the second question, that how I prepare, I had the privilege that my brother, my elder brother, he was also into the preparation. So he told me what are the books to be read and how to go about the basic stuff. So that came as the foundation. That is from where I started. So I started with the basic books, and I was very clear, as we are taught in the military, be very simple in your thought process. The plan should be crystal clear. So my plan was very clear that these are the limited number of books which I will be reading, and I will be reading them a multiple number of times. I will not be swayed by looking at the market. In fact, I was totally cut off from the market. I did not interact with even a single person about my preparation. So I was very much limited in my scope about what is to be read. Because if you expose yourself to a lot of books, ultimately the revision will suffer. So just as happens in the army examinations also, you have a very limited mandate that these are the books to be read. You do not waver left and right. Your target should be clear. So target is to clear the examination and not to read multiple books. If we were to read multiple books, then we will be doing the PhD and not preparing for the civil services.
Okay.
So be very much clear that these are the sources. Spend some time initially to finalize your sources. Take consultation from a few people. And once we have done that, then there is no looking left and right. I have a very famous quote which I often repeat at a lot of places. It says that look back and you are dead. So once you have decided that, there is no looking back. That this particular resource is not sufficient. Yes, you can value add a few things, but you cannot change your source altogether, because that will affect your vision. That will affect your confidence. So that is how I started. And slowly and gradually, I built up the knowledge base. The resources, I did not change much. Just the current affairs I used to read, which was the new element. Other than that, the static element was fixed all through.
Fantastic, fantastic. And so which year you passed out prelim and then mains and all?
So the first attempt was in 2021, sir. In that year, I could not qualify the prelims. And in fact, prelims has 2 examinations. So one is the general studies, which decides the final cutoff. And the other is the CSAT examination. So CSAT examination is just the qualifying nature. It just needs you to get 33% marks, which is effectively from 200, you need 67 marks.
And what is the subject in CSAT?
CSAT is mathematics, reasoning, and comprehension, sir.
Okay.
So, but there is a difficulty level, and there were certain mistakes which I made. And in 2021 attempt, my GS cutoff was clear, but I could not clear my CSAT. And it was very marginal. So 67 is the cutoff, and I think 1.2 or some marks I was short by that. So had I attempted one more question correctly, or had I not attempted one wrong question, I could have made it. But that was the lessons. I think we moved with the lessons, and I learned the lessons and implemented those lessons in the next attempt, which happened to be 2022. And in this attempt, luckily, I got through all the 3 stages: the prelims, the mains, and the interview. And finally, the results were declared in 2023. The exact date was May 23rd, sir. So that was the date when the results were declared.
And what was your feeling that time once you made a cut into this exam? And how was your family's reaction?
It's a very important question, which some people might not believe, but I think you will resonate with the reply that I'm just about to give. When the results came, I was totally grounded. I was not, in fact, though a little bit of satisfaction was there, but I was totally fine that yes, we had done the hard work and it has been paid off. But if you say that, because military teaches you that success, failure, it's all the same.
Part of life.
It's part of life. So you cannot be overjoyed by success, and you cannot be overburdened or feel utterly bad about the failure. So that you will not feel bad about the failure only when you learn that you are not very much overjoyed by the success. So that is some philosophy which I also took forward from the army. But as compared to my reaction, my family's reaction was really overwhelming. That particular time, just for the information of viewers, my father, he just retired in 2022 as a lecturer in economics. He was serving in the government schools. And we also have a little bit of farming background. So on the day of the examination, my father was working in the fields. So he was totally laden with dust and mud all around. And I think my brother gave him a call. I did not check. My brother first gave me the call. So he was really overjoyed, really excited, because he knew what it takes to qualify this examination. And he informed me he was overjoyed, and then he video called my father. But that time I was, I think, into some activity. I could not call him directly. So he called him up and he started crying. Because he, in his younger days, he also had a dream to become a civil servant. He did give a couple of attempts of the state civil services. But because of the limitations, that time the family was going through certain things, a lot of other activities going on. So he could not pursue that. So he started crying that way. So that is actually quite a emotional moment for the family. And in fact, for family's reaction is fine, but the amount of love and the amount of overjoyed, because Aknoor, if you have been there, sir, so Aknoor is a very small town.
I know.
With people who are very good at heart, they are very pure, very true people. So that happiness was reflected in everybody's behavior, because that time I was in Delhi, so I had to appear for the next year's prelims. So I had the opportunity of going back home only after a week's time, or maybe 10 days. So when I reached back home, I was overjoyed by the amount of love. It felt like a celebration is going on in the town of Aknoor. Though complete Jammu and Kashmir was happy, but especially if I talk about the people of Aknoor, they were overjoyed. They felt like their son has done it, their brother has done it, their friend has done it. So that is what made me feel special, and not the results in themselves. Here I would just to add to it, I would just like to share one incident here. One day, I along with my mother and my sister and my brother were sitting home, sir. So all of a sudden, a very old man, sir, I think he was approaching his 90s. He knocked on the door, sir. So I just went, as a matter of courtesy, as we had been brought up. So I just touched his feet, and then I welcomed him home, and I told him to settle down, and I'll call the mother, because I was not aware who that individual is. So my mother came in, and then I realized that that individual, that 90-year-old guy who I could not recognize, that happened to be the first headmaster of my parents. Because both my mother and father, they have been government teachers. So back in 1985 or 1986, I think, when my parents joined in the education department, he was their first headmaster. So that time he used to be, my mother showed me an old photograph. He used to be a very tall, handsome, 6.5 feet, strong, well-built guy. And now in his 90s, he's very frail, very weak. And I was amazed that he did not have our contact number. He did not have our address. He was just aware that we live somewhere in Akhnoor. So he traveled all the way 20-30 kilometers and then walked on foot. And then he came to greet us. So this one incident is very close to my heart, sir. This, I was overjoyed. So this one incident brought tears to my eyes.
Very tough, very tough. So यहाँ एक चीज बात आती है. How did you prepare for your mains and interview?
So first I'll cover the mains part, sir. The mains, the entire time I was till the this 2022 attempt I gave while being in the army. So the entire time had to be adjusted with the official mandate, sir. I had to do my official mandate also, and I had to focus on the studies also. But the plan was very clear that I am not going to waste any single moment. Either I will be working or I will be studying, or the third thing is I should be sleeping. There is no fourth thing that I will be doing. So that is the first thing of the plan, that time management in terms of not wasting even a single moment. So that was the first thing. Second thing.
So you said either studying or sleeping or working.
Or working, because the military will not leave you, because I was still donning the uniform. I had to do justice to that also, sir.
Okay. So you started from the army itself.
Yeah, I started in 2019.
Okay.
And this mains preparation dedicatedly happened after I cleared the prelims.
Okay.
And just for the information, as you initially also you brought out, that for this last 1.5 years, I served in the counter-insurgency grid in the general area, Samba and Kathua. For the work that I did there, I was awarded the CISE Commendation card.
Okay.
So I did not, and I tried my best that I should not be compromising on the official mandate, sir.
Absolutely.
And I will be not doing justice if I do not thank the staff, my commanding officers, my other team members who were really supportive of that.
Yeah.
Because they knew that this guy will do the work,
yeah.
But we should not unnecessarily bother him with other things.
Yeah.
So I was not disturbed. I was allowed to work in my own ways. I was given the freedom to deploy the detachments as and when I thought it fit, because the results were being delivered.
Yeah.
So I think I would be really not be a very good human being if I do not thank and if I do not recognize their contribution as a part of my success.
See, your organization, current organization always helps you. Always helps you. In fact, I'm sure that learning from the army must have helped you a lot in cracking this not only exam, even the interview.
True, sir. True. So the mains part, as we mentioned, the mains first plan was not to waste time. And the second thing that happened was, of course, I had made a detailed syllabus, detailed strategy that for these particular subjects, I will devote this much of time. And the main focus was on the optional subject. My optional happened to be philosophy. Okay. So because of the limitations of the time, I could not write the mock test of the other papers. So my focus was on philosophy. I could write 7 to 8 mock tests of philosophy. But other than that, if you ask me, there are 7 other papers, or 4 GS papers and 1 essay paper is there. So 5 other papers. So I did not write even 1 mock test of that because of the limitations also.
And mock test is through the virtual?
Mock test is just like you download the question paper and then you physically write with the in the 3-hour duration.
Okay.
And then you can upload the same so that the invigilators will give you the feedback how you're writing.
So that you take a course from someone, or
yes, that course can be taken. They are easily available in the market. So that because I did not have the knowledge that how am I performing in philosophy. So the other subjects I was sure, because I have been reading them for a long time. So I was sure that I will be able to do well. But philosophy, I was a little skeptical. So I had to take the test series for that, sir.
Okay. Perfect. And what about your interview part of it?
So interview, as you already brought out, Army has already groomed us in a way that interview will never be a big challenge. Yeah. But yes, the demands of the UPSC interviews are a little different. Barring the personality element, you need to have a very in-depth understanding of the social issues and the current events that are happening. Yeah. So I focused upon a few things. One was whatever is happening in the current parlance. I read from multiple newspapers. I developed, because right from the school days, I have a habit, or we have a habit as youngsters, we should have, that we try to think about things and find solutions. It is not just that hear to the news and forget it. Hear to the news and try to find out what is wrong, what could be done better, and how we can play a role. So if you think about things in that aspect, of course, with time, that thought process will develop and you will automatically start giving solutions yourself. So my preparation for the interview focused upon the current affairs elements, and there is something called detailed application form, DAF, which we fill just before the interviews. So in that, we write everything from our schooling to our college, to our hobbies, to our interests, to our awards, all those things. So that also forms a major chunk of the questions that are asked. For example, in my hobbies, I had mentioned the poetry writing. Well, I've been into poetry writing since I was in the school. I had written that I had started a few NGOs on the ground level in Akhnoor. So all these become a possible question for the panel to ask you. So now, coming back to the first question, which you asked about the integrity element when we were discussing about the SSBs.
Correct.
Now, I could not write that I have started an NGO called Viswas if I have not done that. Since I had done that and I had struggled on ground, I had struggled with finances, I had struggled with manpower in organizing the events. You can ask me any question on that. I will be able to very wonderfully answer that, because I have done that thing on ground. But if I had not done anything and I have just mentioned that I am a part of Viswas, then that integrity element also comes in. And with the expertise that the board members have, board members are people with 30, 40 years of experience. They are closing in on their 60s. So you cannot bluff them, because they will, some way or the other, come to know that you are lying in this particular context. And once it occurs to the board that your integrity is being questioned, then of course your final marks in the interview will be affected, sir.
They will see through you. They will see
True,
through
sir.
you.
True, sir. True.
So एक छोटी चीज यहाँ आती है कि एक आपने एसएसबी दिया, आपने मल्टीपल एसएसबी दिए, एयरफोर्स का दिया, इसका दिया, और एक आपने सिविल सर्विसेज का इंटरव्यू दिया. हाउ डू यू विज मींस क्या निकल के निचोड़ आता है कि एक एसएसबी का इंटरव्यू और एक सीएसई का इंटरव्यू?
सर, कुछ चीजें हैं जो इन सब में कॉमन है. There are certain things which are common. First is, of course, the confidence with which you step into the interview room. Your body language, that should exude confidence and energy once you enter that. The way, respectfully and in a very, not very loud, but very audible voice, you should wish the panel in both the ways. Confidence, the other thing is, in both, in UPSC interview, also in SSB, confidence comes in, that is equally weighted. Then, of course, integrity element we already discussed. Now, but after these similarities, there are certain differences also. So differences, the first is, of course, in SSB interviews, it is a five-day process. Even in that, if we see the interview element, it may run up to one hour also. You will be grilled for 1 hour. So the grilling element in the SSB is more as compared to the civil services interview. In this SSB interview, you could be asked about very personal questions. You could be asked about your girlfriends. You could be asked about why did you have a breakup. You could be asked about how many times have you lied in life. So all these questions, which are very personal in nature, which will try to put you under pressure, that will be part of the SSB interviews. But comparatively, when we compare it with the civil services interview, the grilling element is very less. They are more interested in, yes, the confidence, those similarities are there. Other than that, they are more in an attempt to try to know your views, how you balance the contradictory positions. Suppose there is some incident has happened. For example, the Ram Mandir was inaugurated. Now, the board might ask you that, is it not against the secular ethos of India that the government of the day is participating? So you have to balance it very wisely. So you have to say that Ram Mandir is a symbol of a rich culture of India. So you have to balance, just giving an answer. There could be multiple instances. So you have to balance things very effectively. So that opinion-based questions are more in the civil services as compared to the SSB.
Effectively and convincingly. Whatever you say, you should be able to convince them.
True, sir. True.
Abhinandan, then once you have cleared this last with 749 was your rank, and I believe you were allotted IRMS, Indian Railway Management Services. What happened thereafter?
Sir, I was allotted the Railways Management Service, and I joined this service, and then I took a year-long leave, sir.
Is it paid or unpaid?
It is an unpaid leave. It's a leave without pay.
Okay.
So this is an option given to the officer trainees that if you plan to appear again, since the probation period is 2 years, so you can be exempted for 1 year. You can come back for the training next year.
Okay.
So that is the path I chose, and in this year I have given the interview again.
Okay.
The interviews are on. The results will be expected, I think, somewhere in mid-April. So by that time, we'll come to know what is the next course of action, sir.
Fantastic, but and I'm sure you should be coming out with the flying colors.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your wishes.
Yeah. Let's pray to the God. You have done your job. Nothing to worry about. You have done to best of your ingenuity, and rest is almighty. It's all competitive game. You mentioned about that, Abhinandan, that you are a poet also.
Sir,
what kind of poetry you are doing?
So poetry, initially it started, I'll be telling you the root of the poetry, sir. Once in the class 9th, we had a vice principal called Sister Navya. I am from a convent school. So Sister Navya gave us a homework, sir. So I was a sincere student back then. So she told us to write a poem on the beauty of seashore. We had a chapter, we have a poetry she used to teach us English. So she told that all of you go back and write a poem in English on the beauty of seashore. I had never gone to a sea. I had never seen a sea until that point of time. Right. So, but since I was sincere, I had to do that. So I took up a dictionary and I tried to rhyme the sentences. I took very complex words and then I framed, I think, 12, 14 line poem. So that is where the journey began. Oh. And then I took it forward. I have been writing a lot of poetry, though I have not published a book. There are plans. Okay. Someday it will definitely come. Okay. If God wishes that.
So is it this poetry is the basically love angles or
it is everything. It has love, sir. It has love for the nature. It has love for the moon. I am a very, very fond admirer of moon and its beauty, sir. Okay. I come from Aknoor, which is situated on the bank of River Chenab. There are a lot of poems I have written with Chenab and moon as the epicenters. I sit on the bank of River Chenab sometimes and I just, on my mobile, just write a few poetry. So, lot of some motivational poetry also I have written. Some love poems, I wrote one, I do not remember the exact title. When the COVID happened and the migrant laborers had to move, they had to walk long distances just to go back home. So I wrote a poetry on that. So
would you like to share something which you have written on this, sitting on the Chenab, watching moon? Few lines.
Recently, sir, I actually have a very bad habit that I do not remember my poetry. But yes, one poem that
whatever you can remember, even 1 or 2 lines.
Yeah, one poetry that I do share with a lot of this I remember because
it's all English or even Hindi?
Initially, I started in English, sir. Then, of course, I have written both in English and a mix of Hindi and Urdu. Okay. Well, I come from Jammu and Kashmir, in which Urdu is as good a language as Hindi, sir.
So let's have something from Urdu or Hindi, if you can remember.
Urdu, sir, I will have to search through the phone. I'll have to navigate. Okay. English, may I can just readily tell you.
Yeah, tell me.
There is a poetry which I wrote. This is actually with the youth in thought, sir. With youth as the focus, sir. Yeah. Because we see that youth these days are very underconfident. Sometimes they are not having that belief in themselves. Yeah. So this poetry was entitled as "You Are a Lion Who Is Born to Roam." So this is a very long poem. Generally people might write 4 or 5 sentences. I have a habit of writing huge poetries, 2-3 pages poetry. So this is the last stanza of that. Okay. So I conclude with this, that on the sands of time, don't you wait. Let it rain, even if it is meant to pour. Because you are a diamond who is invincible to the core. However dark the night, your infinite soul will take you to the shore. Because I'm forgetting a few lines, and then the concluding line says that because you are a lion who is born to roar, and you will roar and be hailed as the king of the jungle. So this is how I conclude the poetry.
And every one of us could be a king of jungle. And
Absolutely,
lion.
absolutely.
Everyone have a lioness and lion in us. Only thing you have to discover that lion within you.
True. The youth has to believe that they are the lion. वो शेर हैं जो इस देश को इस मुल्क को जरूरत है सर.
Yes.
We cannot undermine ourselves, because undermining ourselves is like undermining the country.
Yes. So let's hear about your your NGO Viswas. What is it all about?
Sir, as I told you, we were into basketball and sports initially, a lot of during school days and college days. So we had a team of 5 to 6 friends who used to play basketball every day without miss. The unit thing happened much later, that we used to play for 2-3 hours under the guidance of the commanding officer. But even before that, it was a routine that we used to play 2.5 hours every day. So that was the most favorite time of ours. But we realized over a period of time that we did not have opportunities. We have been playing for 2-3 years, but we haven't played one competitive match anywhere. So with this background, we thought of starting an organization in which we will try to host events, because Aknoor had no other basketball team, so we had to host events so that teams from other parts of Jammu and Kashmir, they might come and play. So that was the initial thought process. So we gave the name initially Trust in English. So the name was Trust for Research and Uplift of Sports Among Teens. This was the English name which we began. But later we realized we had a huge inspiration in our principal that time. Father Joseph is the name. He is a person who has a lot of energy and a lot of valuable insights. So under his guidance, we came to realize that sports is not the only thing which we as youngsters should be a part of. So we expanded the horizon, and barring sports, we included education, social awareness, and climate change events, climate change issues in the domain. So that trust thing became Vishwas in Hindi. So then we started organizing events. The most lovable events that I organized as part of the team, or we organized, was the first ever marathon in Aknoor.
Marathon in Aknoor. Okay.
Yes. We did not have any resources. The only support was from the school. We were in college that time, but we were still in touch with the school principal. He had been a great inspiration. So we got in touch with him and shared our plans. We had a very small team, 3 to 4 people only. No financial resources.
It was full marathon?
It was not a full marathon actually, sir. Marathon, because it was for the school students and it happened for the first time. So calling it a marathon is a misnomer actually. But it was hardly, I think, 6 to 7 kilometers.
Okay.
So 42 kilometers was not practically feasible because it was happening for the first time.
Okay.
I think I am talking about 2011 or 12. So that was the time we organized it for the first time. So without any resources, without any financial backing, and without any team, we had only 3 to 4 people. So we embarked on this journey, and then we organized the first ever marathon. I'll be very, very frank with you, sir. The moment that a marathon was flagged off, sir, it was, I think, that time we had the DSP of Aknoor, SDP of Aknoor. He was an IPS officer, Dr. Rais Mohammad Bhatt. So he is presently, I think, DIG in Udhampur. So he was the chief guest. The moment he flagged off the marathon, sir, and the amount of energy that with which people or the young students of Aknoor ran, sir, that till date is the most satisfying moment of my life.
Absolutely.
I cannot match that. I've served in the army, though there were a lot of moments, but that adrenaline rush or that moment of satisfaction till today remains unmatched, sir.
See, when you do something of your own,
True, sir.
Whatever little bit it is there, when it is something of your own, because for which you have taken extreme ownership.
True, sir.
And the results are there, then adrenaline is invaluable.
And in that marathon, we had some 400 to 500 participants. Next year, we came back even stronger and we organized a marathon, same place, same route, but the participation touched 1,000, sir. And in between, we were able to organize state level debate competitions. without resources and with support from the same principal I mentioned, we were able to invite teams from Pahalgam, sir. Army Public School Pahalgam had sent a team. And without resources, with the grace of God, we were able to provide them accommodation and food also. So things happen on their own when you plan something, when your intentions are pure. This I've been telling everywhere, that if your intentions are pure, the universe will
help you.
Do anything to help you.
Yeah. वो जो शाहरुख खान का डायलॉग है ना, सारी कायनात आके आपको हेल्प करना
True, sir, true. Absolutely. That dialogue, sir, वैसे नहीं लिखे जाते. Dialogue comes out of certain experiences.
Absolutely.
So that is true, sir.
In fact, you mentioned about marathon. Next month, I am going to Udhampur.
Okay, sir.
I'm going to run the last leg of 1,000-kilometer ultra marathon.
Okay, sir.
Which is culminating in Udhampur. So I will be running around 15 kilometers there.
Right, sir. Right, sir. My best wishes, sir.
Thank you.
It's really wonderful. Even after so long after retiring, you are still so active into running and all this, sir.
In January, I ran triathlon, which we call it triathlon in Gurgaon.
Okay, sir.
In the Aravali Hills, in that undulating, rocky terrain. Sir. So I ran 14 kilometers where I got the gold medal.
Oh, that's wonderful, sir. Congratulations, sir. Really, that's inspiring for us.
And this run is being organized by Colonel R.S. Mann, CEO of 21 Para SF, ex-CEO of that. Sir. So he's running starting from Diu in Gujarat, all along the border, through Rajasthan, then Punjab, and then finally J&K, culminating there. So there are 10 to 12 officers who will be running a complete 1,000 kilometers. But most of the people, passionate people, will be joining in between. Somebody must be completing 100 kilometers, 200, like that.
That's really nice, really nice.
So when I interviewed him like you, I committed to him that I will join you.
That's my best wishes, sir. You are really a motivation for us.
So finally, Abhinandan, जाते जाते आप हमारे यंगस्टर्स को जो सिविल सर्विसेज को क्रैक करना चाहते हैं या एसएसबी को क्रैक करना चाहते हैं और जो जिंदगी को ही क्रैक करना चाहते हैं, क्या कहना चाहोगे?
सर, बहुत अच्छा सवाल आपने पूछा है. तो मैं उनको ये नहीं बता सकता कि एसएसबी को क्रैक करने के लिए क्या करना है या यूपीएससी को क्रैक करने के लिए क्या करना है. आपका जो तीसरी चीज है, अगर हम उसको कवर कर लेंगे तो सब कुछ क्रैक हो जाएगा.
बिल्कुल बिल्कुल, आई बिलीव इन दैट.
Yes, we have to learn how to crack this life, sir. And this life is far bigger than one examination. SSB Absolutely. Will not decide. I'll just mention you. Yesterday only, I had a YouTube channel. So I had a comment from one of the youngsters that he must have been a little dejected with his results or something. So he was telling that, sir, you keep motivating us, but despite there are people who even after 6 attempts are not able to make it. It's not that they are less of it. So to them and to all the other youngsters, I would like to just tell that one examination or the one interview, one SSP will not decide what you are. You are far bigger than that. You are a universe in static motion. There's a famous quote, you are a universe in yourself. एक एग्जाम आपकी वैल्यू नहीं डिसाइड करेगा और ना ही करना चाहिए. If you let that happen, then you are a mistake. But दूसरी चीज है कि अगर आपने जीवन में कोई गोल सेट कर लिया है, फॉर एग्जाम्पल यूपीएससी कर लिया है, तो टुडे द टाइम इज नॉट जस्ट अबाउट हार्ड वर्क, इट इज अबाउट स्मार्ट वर्क. यू हैव टू नो वेयर टू हिट द नेल. You cannot be hitting the nail on sides and then saying that nail is not going where it is meant to. So you have to hit the nail on the head right there with the perfect strategy and a little bit of hard work. It is not that you are required to work 20 hours, 15 hours a day. Consistently, if you do that with 7 to 8 hours also, with 6 to 8 hours, and with consistency, which is, some people ask me, what is consistency? So अगर एक साल में 300 से ज़्यादा दिन we are able to work for 8 hours, that is consistency. Nobody is asking you to study 365 days. तो अपने आप पे ज्यादा प्रेशर नहीं लेना है, पहली चीज. दूसरी चीज है कि एक एग्जाम को इतना बड़ा हवा नहीं बना लेना. एंड द थर्ड थिंग इज जस्ट हैव दैट बिलीफ सिस्टम that I will do anything and everything that is required in this world. This is the only thing. वो belief system that will make you the lion you are supposed to be.
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. And if I can add a little bit in that.
Sure, sir.
The bottom line is life is more important than anything else in the life.
True, sir. True.
So, exam is once, but there are many beautiful things in the life. And if you fail in the exam, the fail is first attempt in learning.
True, sir. True.
From every failure, you learn something or else. Then apply it next time. And failure is the foundation stone of success.
True, sir.
So keep consistent. So the three things which are very important. You must have a courage, you must have a commitment, and you must have a consistency.
True, sir.
You have these three C's in life, nobody can stop you from achieving something. You may not be destined to become an army officer or maybe the civil service officer, but you may be destined to become something great sportsman, something great poet, something great writer, or something like that. Life is too big compared to these exams or anything. So always remember, life is more important than anything else. And bottom line is, if life is a battlefield, then fight it like a warrior.
True, sir.
यदि जिंदगी में बोलते हैं ना, जिंदगी तो जंग है, अरे जंग है तो एक वॉरियर बनो ना.
True.
If you are a warrior, then you can defeat anyone. Abhinandan, very nice talking to you and a lot of learning to my viewers. I am sure they must have got a lot of insight, whether it is Army, SSB, Army itself, or civil services, or civil services job itself. And I wish that when you make it to this, we will again meet and discuss some of the things. And looking forward to that day and wishing you all the best on behalf of myself and my viewers. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure being here. And my best wishes to this wonderful initiative that you have started. May it grow by leaps and bounds, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Jai Hind, sir.
Jai Hind, Jai Hind. Just a minute.